1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hi, my name is Tracy Arms. I live here in New York. I've been a victim of
Wait, let's start again.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Tracy Arms. I've been a victim of the corruption of the court systems here in New York. I'm a victim of domestic violence. The judges have completely taken my case lightly and has awarded my abuser temporary custody.
Okay, rolling.
Hi, my name is Tracy Arms. I'm here in solidarity, showing the injustice of New York family courts. These judges need to be held accountable. I'm a victim of domestic violence. My ex-abuser and my children's abuser happens to be a lawyer here in New York and has had complete bias and favor towards him. The laws are different. It's not justice for all, it's justice for some. Judges are going into courts without knowing, they know the situation and are completely ruling in favor of the abuser. This has to stop. The only people that are suffering are the children and the victims, and that continue to be victimized by the court system, financially, legally, mentally, and physically. This has to come to a stop. Only all of us getting together and gathering and speaking up on the injustice, how these judges, CPS, ACS, they all have to be held accountable. This is a million dollar business. And the longer they prolong our court cases, the longer we all have to just be victimized continuously. I urge everybody to stand in solidarity for this great cause and speak up. This could happen to anyone, any one of us. Thank you.
Rolling.
Good morning. My name.
Speak loud and clear.
Good morning. My name is Bonita Steed, formerly known as Bonita Brown.
Stand by. Wait. We're not going to get it. It's too soft, isn't it? Are you getting it on the lav? Yeah, it's on the lav. Okay, sorry, okay. Do you want to call it? Just say stand by and action. Okay, action.
Good morning. My name is Bonita Steed, formerly known as Bonita Brown. I've survived the corruption with family court in Queens County. I'm still fighting. I'm a surviving victim of domestic violence. I have no answers as far as why they removed my son back in March of 2010. They separated my children. They didn't give them sibling visitation right. The judge that was on the bench was Pam B. Jackman Brown. I asked for questions as far as why or how they removed my son. I'm still fighting to this day to get my 15-year-old son back. I just went to court the 1st of March of this year. I need answers. I need people to be held accountable for this long drawn-out battle of not having my son and watching him to progress in life like he should. The father, a drug dealer, went co-defendant or confidential informant, and nothing has been told to me as far as how or why. What about the children? Hold these judges accountable. Dennis Liebwell, hold my case in chambers. I couldn't make copies of my case file. I did an appeal. The appeal went nowhere. My appellate lawyer wrote a brief without consulting with me. Chris Robles, I need answers. I want justice for my children. If I can't have one child, then I'm not fit for the other.
Is it rolling?
How bad can it be?
Okay, in your own time. Okay, rolling.
Go? Okay. Hi, my name is Giuseppe Lubrano. I am a victim of Judge Esther Morgenstern, like many others. And I filed a multiple complaint to the Commissioner Judicial. And so far, no complaints have been investigated or take action against it. We are here protesting for Robert Benchen to read our reports against many other judges, including Judge Esther Morgenstern, Hoffman in Manhattan, and other judges. And we want this complaint to be open to the public, and we want them to be investigated. so that we can get the bad judges off the benches and stop this child abusing and give our children back. Pretty much it.
So Giuseppe, tell me your story. How did you first meet Esther Morgenstern?
I was pulled in Esther Morgenstern court because of a complaint of domestic violence, and there was a criminal complaint also that it was fabricated from police.
Start again. How did you first? How did you first come across Judge Esther Morgenstern?
There was a complaint of domestic violence, which was fabricated from my ex-wife, and also another complaint that came from the police department, which was also fabricated, that they found me in possession of the gun, which she was not. And Judge Morgenstern pulled her case into her court, being an IDV case. So she took the case under her own bench, and this whole mess started with my family and my daughter.
And how has Judge Morgenstern adjudicated your case? Would you say it's been fair? Would you say it's been a just process?
She's been extremely biased against me, and for whatever reason, she's extremely in favor of my ex-wife, which is the abuser. She's been proved to be the abuser. Her lawyer right now is technically defender a sociopath, and this became a criminal matter because it's between the judge and the attorney, criminal activity that's going on in this court.
He's looking into the camera too much.
Sorry.
Start from bowling now. What has your experience been with Judge Morgenstern in terms of effective adjudicating as a judge?
She is extremely biased against me and extremely in favor of the defendant, which she's the criminal. And this caused to have a criminal intention between Judge Morgenstern and the attorney defendant, that they are playing together a very dirty game against me. And Judge Morgenstern keep adjourning the case in a matter of months and months. So this case has been going on for 3 years. I finally got a first day of trial 2 days ago, and for some reason Judge Morgenstern interrupted the trial, and now she posted for another 60 days, which she's gonna forget everything she understood so far, which I don't think she understood much, because she only needs to correct her own mistakes. That she forced me to take a plea for the gun, she forced me to take a plea for the misdemeanors, and all the other issues that we had. Instead to look into the evidence and settle the case down, she kept saying, oh, things are gonna settle by themselves. But we came to court to settle the things by law, not let the ball rolling by themselves.
And let's be clear, when was the last time you spent unfettered free time with your child, with your daughter?
A full time with my daughter was about 9 months ago. And this suspension of the visitation, it was due to the fact that Judge Morgenstern misunderstood something. The attorney defendant made a complaint about to have a report, and based on that report, my visitation was suspended 9 months ago. And finally, 2 days ago in court, the attorney defendant admitted that that report doesn't exist. And for whatever reason, Judge Morgenstern haven't given me my visitation back. Even the report is being admitted to don't be existent.
Do you feel your child has been legally kidnapped?
She is being kidnapped because there is no evidence whatsoever that I am a bad father, and she is in a bad environment right now because my ex-wife and her parents are brainwashing the child, showing some differences in between the visitation. I happen to have all my visitation recorded on camera 24/7, so we can establish this alienation that's happening between when I was with my daughter every week and now that I haven't seen my daughter for 9 months.
Have you made any complaint to this organization, the Commission on Judicial Conduct?
I made a multiple complaint to this organization. Basically, every time I get out of court from Judge Morgenstern court, I file my complaints so I don't forget anything that happened in court. And basically we are above 10 complaints, and only one I got a response that it's been investigated so far.
How many complaints have you made?
At least 10.
Say that as a full sentence.
I made at least 10 complaints in total to this administration, and only one of them has been investigated so far.
How long?
We can,
Okay, I'm rolling. So tell me more about the first complaint. When did you first make the complaint, and what response did you get?
I made the first complaint in 2020 regarding the time that it's taking so long to see my daughter, because for the first 6 months I haven't seen my daughter whatsoever, no touch, no phone call. And so I started making complaints, and they say that they don't have a jurisdiction from this administration to change the outcome of a judge decision. So
Did you get any response from this organization, the CJC?
no, personally, it was just a random response that they cannot investigate the case, that it's not concluded, that they cannot intervene in an ongoing case, and that's pretty much always the same response, that it's generalized.
So just summarize. I have that you've had made X amount of complaints, and how many have been investigated?
I made about 10 complaints, 9 for sure, and only one of them it's been reviewed. It's not even like a full investigation.
And was any action taken by the CJC whatsoever?
Not that I know, not so far.
What do you think of the Commission on Judicial Conduct?
I think they do not review our complaints, and if they do, it's not with a timely matter, and they do not understand the necessity of review the cases when the children are involved, and how fast this should happen. It should be like within a matter of days to give the right parents the child back, or at least 50-50 sharing parenting, which is the best outcome for the kids.
So this CJC receives $8.2 million a year. Do you think that's money well spent out of the public purse?
Absolutely not. With that kind of money, we can hire many agencies that they're doing a better job than them, and young people with fresh mind that believe in technology, and that they use a computer system to look into the theories, how many complaints have been made for the single judges, multiple people, and that the complaints, they had to be confirmed that they are victims of these judges. They should be more important than anybody else.
And how big are the stakes here? You're not getting to see your daughter at all. This person is largely responsible for it, because if they'd taken action, you would see your daughter again. How
Exactly.
big are the stakes for you personally? How important is this for you?
Well,
And for your daughter?
for me and for my daughter, it's devastating because of the situation in court with Judge Morgenstern. She is taking everything from me, financially, psychologically, and she's putting my daughter into this alienation progress. She insisting to let me see my daughter only if I pay for supervised visits, and she insists that I do 45 minutes with my daughter, which in fact causing a problem to my daughter, because she barely gonna remember that 45 minutes every other week. So it's more damage than fixing the relationship between me and my daughter. Other than that, she's forcing the sale of the house, she's forcing the financially to be divided, she's forcing a lot of orders that they're basically taking down the assets and all the financial of my family.
We can continue this later, but I want to... And we're rolling. Okay. Rolling camera.
All right. Hello, everybody. I'd like to bring attention to a moral and constitutional crisis facing everybody in the United States. When we have leaders say no one is above the law, unfortunately they are lying, and they know that they are not telling the truth. So we have seen that former President Trump has been investigated, former Governor Cuomo has been investigated, there have been investigations of the police, there have been investigation of many other people in positions of power. But the group that cannot be investigated is the judiciary branch of the government, because they have conferred immunity upon themselves. and this derives from a horrific case called Stump v. Sparkman, which took place in the 1970s, and it involved a 15-year-old girl whose due process rights were violated by the judge in Indiana. She did not have an attorney representing her as a minor. There was no hearing. She did not know what was going to happen to her. She did not have a chance to appeal. What the judge told her was, go to the hospital to have your appendix removed. She was 15 years old. She obeyed the judge and her mother. At the hospital, the judge had told the surgeon to do a tubal ligation of the 15-year-old girl, which meant she was permanently sterilized. She did not know what had taken place. She married a couple of years later, tried to conceive children, and then learned what had happened to her. She sued Judge Stump and others involved. The case went to the federal courts. When it went to the Seventh Circuit Court of Chicago, which covers the Midwest, they ruled in favor of the girl. Yet the judge then appealed the case to the United States Supreme Court, which took it up, and it ruled 5-3 that judges have immunity and cannot be sued. This horrific decision is still binding precedent, and it is adhered to by many in the legal profession, whether they are district attorneys, whether they are the Attorney General of the United States, whether they are lawyers or others in the legal profession. So this means that if somebody sues a judge, a district attorney appoints someone to show up and defend the judge and argue before the court that the case should be dismissed, and that is typically what happens. So what we need to do is raise awareness about this horrific decision, try to get it overturned, and establish checks and balances over the judiciary branch of the government, which is a basic principle of our government, that there should be checks and balances that apply to everyone. Thank you for listening. Let's hope that we achieve our goal and raise awareness about this horrific doctrine of judicial immunity. Thank you.
Rolling camera. Okay.
Felix Leo Campos at 61 Broadway.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm here to support, excuse me.
Wait, start again.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm here to support the effort to bring justice and accountability to the judiciary of the family divorce court system. Judges need to be accountable, as do surgeons and hospital administrators. Lawyers also need to be held accountable, as do the different tentacles of the family divorce court apparatus, like the Children's Law Center, the Administration for Children's Services, Children's Protective Services, some part of the country, and the great misnomer, the Child Support Collection Enforcement Unit. It's a misnomer because there are no enforcement of child support collection. What there is enforcement of payment, but payment without the equal and reciprocal enforcement of collection leaves a debt, creates an arrear, and no one is held accountable but the individual who has to face the institution. It's time to level the playing field, to get rid of all the biases and all the obstacles that would prevent men from being fathers to their children. I'm here to support not just reform, but change in the family court, divorce court law, public policy, and also in you. We need change, not reform. Support the movement.
Okay, I'm rolling camera. You can speak.
Hi, good morning. My name is Edmund Welch. I'm the founder of Disgusted Dads, a platform that represents the common cause of all fathers and parents. and I can speak to the lack of oversight and action of the CJC. I appreciate the opportunity of the FCLU and letting me know that this was going on today in front of 61 Broad Street here in Manhattan. I've been inside this building. I've been upstairs in this building trying to get some sort of justice and any kind of attention brought to the disparages and the inappropriate actions of the judges in our family court system and our criminal court system. I am 13 years involved, 13 years invested, 13 years impoverished and impacted. I see the lack of exercise of due diligence in my community. I see the effects of the lack of CJC involvement in court decisions when I hear of a shooting in my community, when I hear of the killing of a child in my community. I see the non-for-profits. I see the mayor. I see the podiums. I get held on the outside as a father. I can't speak in my community. I can't tell the world that the CJC is inactive, is inappropriate, is ineffective, is a ghost agency in this country. I can't speak in my community when I try to tell everyone that the effects that the citizens of this city are feeling, the fear, the perception, as they call it these days, starts in the homes of my community, that the children are taught to disrespect the fathers and the caregivers, but are expected to come out into the streets and respect the lawgivers and the law enforcers. That's a failed system, and it begins here with the CJC because they are inactive, they are inefficient, they are inappropriate. You understand what I'm saying? They are inefficient, inappropriate, and ineffective. Can I get that? They're inefficient, inappropriate, and ineffective. Now, I'm not much of a speaker, and I hope I've gotten the point across because it only takes a few words to tell what is going on when we see it every day in the effects and the operation of our city. We don't need to hear about the George Santoses. I don't want to hear about the court actions against Trump. I could care less who wants to copyright. I want to hear about the judges in action in the family court. I want to hear about the gals who have taken over the robes and the systems and thereby also taken over the actions of the CJC. Because the CJC will not and cannot control the inappropriate actions of the judges in the court if the inappropriate actions of the judges in the court are being influenced by the inappropriate actions of these agencies who benefit off the decisions made in the courts by these judges. Again, CJC is inappropriate, it's ineffective.
It's corrupt.
It's corrupt, plain and simple. Thank you very much. My name is Edmund Welch, Disgusted Dads, and I can tell you more anytime you need to.
Rolling camera so you can talk.
Good morning. My name is Cynthia Walker, and I made 4 separate complaints about Judge Esther Morgenstern, New York's most poisonous jurist. The things that Judge Morgenstern did to me are unbelievable. To call her courtroom a kangaroo court would be an insult to kangaroo courts. For example, my first complaint to the Commission on Judicial Conduct, I reported that Judge Morgenstern assigned free counsel to only one party, my abusive ex-husband, who is the chief financial officer of a hedge fund, okay? He does not qualify for free counsel. This is your taxpayer money going to a free lawyer for a hedge fund guy, and no counsel, of course, for me. I reported this to Harriet Weinberger, who's the head of the assigned counsel plan, and I made a full formal complaint to the CJC. They did not call me. They sent me one crummy piece of paper telling me that they did not find any need to investigate my complaint. The next complaint that I made to the CJC was about Morgenstern falsifying the record. I made a motion for pendente lite support, and she didn't rule on it for 19 months, and then falsified the record to say that she had ruled on it orally 18 months prior. I actually I subscribed to E-Track, so I was sitting there on Christmas Eve of 2019, and I got an E-Track notice letting me know that my motion was ruled on falsely. I had screenshots of the falsification, a lot of hard evidence. I sent it all to the CJC. Nobody called me, nobody responded, and again, I got that crummy piece of paper in the mail. We didn't think that your complaint was worth investigating. Morgenstern made an order on custody when custody was pending in family court. She didn't even pull custody from family court where there were custody petitions. She made a default ruling on custody when it wasn't even in her court. And I reported this to the Commission on Judicial Conduct. Once again, nobody called me, nobody investigated, and I got a crummy piece of paper in the mail telling me that my complaint was not worth investigating. My fourth and final complaint, I don't know what they're doing with our $8 million, my fourth and final complaint was about a child support order. Morgenstern made a child support order that I should pay $1,000 a month to my ex-husband based on his attorney's claim that I am a prostitute, okay? She didn't use the CSSA guidelines. She didn't use my statement of net worth. In the same default hearing where she awarded him custody when it was pending in another court, she asked my husband's free 18B counsel, well, what sort of work did she do before? I have to base it on something. And the 18B said she was a prostitute. She made a child support order on the basis of the allegation that I am a prostitute. I have the inquest minutes. I sent the entire inquest minutes to the Commission on Judicial Conduct. Like, excuse me, could this possibly be more illegal? You know, how can you make a child support order on the basis of an illegal occupation? You know, like, oh, well, Your Honor, he was a hitman, so he should pay. And once again, these clowns did not even investigate. They sent me the same crappy one-page. We didn't find anything to investigate. In other states, if judges criminally falsify the record, they're actually arrested and prosecuted. All over this country, judges get in trouble for that. Not in New York. Not in New York. And it's thanks to the corrupt Commission on Judicial Conduct, which will not investigate even blatant criminality. Forget about abuses of discretion. They won't even investigate judges who commit crimes. Maybe some little town and upstate town judges. Not anybody like Esther Morgenstern, who is bringing in a lot of money through the Title 4D. That's her whole purpose. It's gangsterism. Thank you.
Hey, my name is Roman Brick. I and my children are victims of Staten Island Family Court. Judges are mostly the same. Most recently, it's Janet McFarland who is tormenting me and my kids. It's a subverted system. No juries, no hearings, no observers. They block the entrance with the scaffolding almost every court. And we know why. I know why. I was born in the Soviet Union. I know what it is. I know what it's communist oppression and subversion. I'm also a licensed lawyer in Israel, not in the US. And I use the great United States Constitution in Israel, but we cannot have it in here in America, in New York. I uncovered illegal donations by the judge in my case, Janet McFarland. I sent complaints to CJC, they investigated, and they closed the case. They don't care. I uncovered nepotistic appointments by attorneys, by judges of attorneys in Staten Island in family court. With quantitative data, it's open. It's on my Facebook page. It's on Fire Janet McFarland Facebook page. CJC don't care. The judges take the kids away on bogus allegations with no hearing, and even when victims are vindicated, the kids are not returned. No hearing, no appeals. LaSalle's court. LaSalle is the judge of the second appellate division. Was recently rejected twice by New York State Senate. His court is doing nothing. Judge Morgenstern, I know she's mentioned here by other victims. She was recently overturned in case Dysco versus Dysco, 2021, 8894. No hearing. The parent there waited for 1.5 years to get justice. What about the damage done to the kids before that? Very symbolic, the win here. CJC is a subverted organization. They try to subvert the impeachment process designed by the United States Constitution. Yes, the sign is flying like our juries. The juries that are guaranteed by the 6th and 7th Amendment of the United States Constitution. Somehow CJC claim they're part of the executive branch. How are they part of the executive branch? There are 11 members. 4 of the 11 members are judges. 5 of the members are lawyers whose livelihoods depend on the judges. 9 out of 11 are people who form a voting bloc that are crushing any chance for real judicial accountability. The foxes are guarding the henhouse. They really think all of us are that stupid. Majority of judges, super majority of judges and lawyers. If that wasn't enough, CJC, those who sit in this building right here, they have a majority of appointees by compromise appointers. 3 of the CJC members were appointed by disgraced Governor Andrew Cuomo, the chair, Belloc, and the members, Korngold and Yeboah. 3 others were selected and appointed by disgraced Chief Judge Jeanette DiFiore, the member Camacho, Falk, and the recently retired Mazzarelli. 6 out of 11 members. Now actually 5 out of 10. The CJC is waiting for another appointment for the spot recently vacated by recently replaced or retired Mazzarelli. Yes, everything is flying like the justice in the system. So both Cuomo and DiFiore, they were forced to leave their position prematurely because of their inability to make good decisions. Why should we trust the decisions they made with the judges and members of the commission? We shouldn't. The public is similarly entitled to know and to question why, out of hundreds of thousands of attorneys, it was Robert H. Tembekjian, the administrator and counsel of the CJC. He is also the one who is connected to the California Commission on Judicial Performance Matters. Why? Why? My guess, and I think a valid conjecture, is they want to replicate the same social engineering push by the government to subvert the intention of the founding fathers who designed the impeachment process by frequently elected legislature, and to subvert it with CJC, who does nothing, does very, very little. Another thing, the letters that are sent by CJC are labeled confidential. It's another gaslighting. Confidential for whom? Not for the victims. Confidential for the employees. They try to gaslight us at every level. It's not the executive branch. It's not providing any accountability. Recently, a Senate Bill 4398 was submitted by 3 senators. I applaud the efforts that they are doing, but it's not enough. It's not enough. We need to return to our legislative roots. We need to return to the Constitution. Soviet dissidents went out to protest in public saying, uphold your own Constitution. That's what we need to do. Uphold your own Constitution.
Good? Okay. Action.
Hi, my name is Levan Tassileski. I have 2 children, and I forced out 4 judges so far in this corrupt piece of crook court system. This institution, the CJC, is supposed to provide oversight They do not. They're part of the problem. I can force out judges because the best disinfectant is publicity. That's what you should do. We should publish whatever these people, these crooks, led by this Armenian piece of garbage, don't do. And then we can start disinfecting all the rats from the courts. Because currently, this is a broken system. I'm lucky enough to actually sustain the fight, but most people are not. And most people do not have the actual capacity or any kind of, willpower to go against judges. These judges cover up each other. They never follow any law, and particularly Morgenstern, she's degenerate, mentally degenerate. Anyone who ever been to a court for more than an hour, everybody notices that there is something like mentally not right with that woman. We need to get these people out. If we don't do it, it's gonna just get worse and worse and worse. I don't know what else to say. I didn't really prepare.
And done?
Yeah, I didn't really prepare. I just want to...
I'm rolling camera, she's ready, and 3, 2, 1.
My name is Elena Sassauer. I am director and co-founder of the Center for Judicial Accountability, which is the outgrowth of the corruption of the Commission on Judicial Conduct and the court-controlled attorney grievance disciplinary system, as proven decades ago by my parents, George Sassauer and Doris Sassauer, each brilliant, honest, civic-minded attorneys who filed complaint after complaint after complaint with the Commission on Judicial Conduct and attorney grievance committees, all dismissed without investigation, and who were victimized by the judges who control the attorney grievance committees, including those who sit on the Commission on Judicial Conduct. For their civic virtue and honesty, in 1987, my father was unlawfully and unconstitutionally disbarred, and in 1991, my mother was unconstitutionally and unlawfully suspended indefinitely. In 1993, I and my mother co-founded the Center for Judicial Accountability to make change by documenting how judges break the law and get away with it. Over the years, we have filed 21 complaints with the Commission on Judicial Conduct that have been dumped by form letter dismissals, mostly without reasons, or by scant reasons which are frauds, readily verifiable from the face of the complaints. Back in 1995, after the Commission had dumped the first 8 of these, all against high-ranking, politically connected judges, several involving the corruption of attorney discipline, we sued the Commission for corruption. Having no legitimate defense, the Commission corrupted the judicial process by litigation fraud of its attorney, the State Attorney General, and was rewarded by a fraudulent judicial decision without which it could not have survived. We sued the Commission again in 1999 upon its dumping of our next complaint and non-determination of a related further complaint. We took the case all the way up to the Court of Appeals, and at every level the same thing happened. The Commission had no legitimate defense, corrupted the judicial process with litigation fraud of its attorney, the Attorney General, and was rewarded by fraudulent judicial decisions without which it would not have survived. Indeed, this double whammy of Attorney General and judicial fraud was also the pattern in another lawsuit against the Commission, also brought in 1999, this by a separate New York attorney who had filed a complaint with the Commission that it had dumped. and we embodied the record of that case in our own 1999 case. For this corrupting of the judicial process by judges to perpetuate a corrupt Commission on Judicial Conduct, depriving the people of New York of their foremost protection against corrupt judges, we opposed pay raises for judges in 2011 when a rigged Commission on Judicial Compensation was established, purportedly to examine if judicial salaries should be raised. And raised they were, beginning in 2012 as a result of a false instrument report that on its face violated the very statute pursuant to which it was rendered. The judges thereafter got another round of pay raises beginning in 2016 as a result of another false instrument report. This of the comparably rigged 2015 Commission on Legislative, Judicial, and Executive Compensation. These two statutorily violative fraudulent reports that are unconstitutional in giving pay raises to judges who must be removed from the bench for corruption, but who, because of a corrupt Commission on Judicial Conduct, remain on the bench, free to pervert the law, have jacked up judicial salaries by approximately $80,000 a year, and their cumulative cost to the taxpayers since 2012 is now around $750 million. Our successive lawsuits to void these pay raises, suing the judiciary and the colluding executive and legislative branches, have all been thrown by fraudulent judicial decisions. And the record of these lawsuits, like the records of the lawsuits against the Commission on Judicial Conduct, each establish the same pattern. The Attorney General corrupted the judicial process by litigation fraud in the absence of any legitimate defense and was rewarded by fraudulent judicial decisions at every court level, including at the Court of Appeals. And what has happened to our subsequent complaints to the Commission on Judicial Conduct against the judges for throwing the lawsuits, challenging their statutorily violative fraudulent pay raises in which they are financially interested? Each has been dumped by fraudulent dismissal letters. Likewise, our separate complaints to the attorney grievance committees against the Attorney General. Our 22nd complaint to the Commission on Judicial Conduct, filed against the judge who threw our latest lawsuit by fraudulent judicial decisions, has just been acknowledged by the Commission. The lawsuit seeks to defund the Commission on Judicial Conduct and New York's other sham public protection entities, such as the Attorney Grievance Committees and the Court Systems Inspector General, because each are simply larcenies of taxpayer monies, being demonstrable window dressing to conceal the corruption of judges, lawyers, and the judiciary that they facilitate. The Center for Judicial Accountability's website is www.judgewatch.org, and via the left side panel, Judicial Discipline, New York, you can access our menu webpage for the Commission on Judicial Conduct, posting, in addition to our complaints to the Commission on Judicial Conduct and the lawsuits, an archive with complaints filed by others, including Sebastian Doggart, Executive Director of the Family Civil Liberties Union. I would be pleased to post your complaints there and on other pertinent pages, web pages. Your complaints, not just to the Commission on Judicial Conduct, but to the attorney grievance committees, to the judiciary's inspector general, and to administrative and supervisory judges, among others. Such mountain of prima facie, open and shut evidence brought to public attention by Sebastian's stellar skills as a journalist, filmmaker, and through his social media savvy will enable our success. And this must include financial recompense to judicial compensation victims from the Superfund created from the clawback of monies from the judicial pay raises.
I'm rolling, Sebastian. Ladies and gentlemen, a tyrant lives up there. An unelectable, unaccountable. Sorry, let me start again.
He's unelectable, but he is unelected.
Unelected.
I know.
Wait 1 second. I want to lower the volume so you can talk louder. Okay, I'm rolling.
Ladies and gentlemen, a tyrant lives up there. An unelected, unaccountable bureaucrat who has terrorized us all. His name is Robert Tembechian. He is the supreme leader of the New York Commission on Judicial Conduct. Few people know his name, Robert Tembechian, or the CJCs. Together, we need to change this. Now, for the last 6 years, the Center for Public Integrity has given the state of New York their judicial accountability a failing grade of F. New York ranks 48 out of 50 states in terms of judicial accountability. The CJC up here is the organization we New York taxpayers fund to oversee our judiciary. It is a sham. Every facially meritorious complaint and report presented by private citizens is either completely ignored or dismissed with a boilerplate letter. And who is on the CJC letterhead? Robert Tembechian. Robert Tembechian, who has ruled the CJC unelected for 19 years and has had employment there for over 4 decades. That's longer than Vladimir Putin. Robert Tembechian, who your representatives in the New York legislature have rewarded with ever-increasing wages and benefits of more than $250,000. Now, the consequences of Tembechian's negligence have been tragic. We repeatedly warned the CJC of the conduct of a rogue Suffolk County Judge, Hope Zimmerman. It was Zimmerman who willfully ignored the pleas of her mother that her 7-year-old child, Thomas Valver, was in mortal danger. Siding with the father, an NYPD cop, Zimmerman ignored evidence from the child's school and dismissed the mother's petitions. The result was that Tommy Valver was put in a freezing garage overnight and died of hypothermia. If Tembechian had recommended Judge Zimmerman's suspension earlier, Tommy Valver would be alive today. Now, we also warned Tembechian of the abusive practices of Douglas Hoffman, a buddy of Robert Tembechian's. Now, in addition to numerous reports of abuse and fraud upon the court, Hoffman has been sued for sexual harassment by his own court attorney, Alexis Marquez. Now, in an age of Me Too, you'd have thought that Governor Hochul and many in the Assembly would have called on us to believe women. He should have been suspended. Did that happen? Absolutely not. No investigation, not by Tembechian, not by anyone else. Hoffman has continued to sit pretty on the bench, and his wages have even been increased. So why does the CJC apply double standards for the executive and the judicial branches of government? Now, the failure by the CJC to provide oversight over Hoffman's conduct has allowed him to continue to terrorize families. For years, he's denied a little girl meaningful access to her father, David Boyajian. His crime? He's exercised his right not to receive the COVID vaccine. Now, many of us are strong supporters of the vaccination, but we also know there's no law on the statute books that dictates that anyone declining to be vaccinated will be subjected to the loss of parental rights. 105 million Americans are not fully vaccinated. Are they all unfit parents? But if this continues, what's next? This is judicial overreach at its worst, judicial tyranny at its worst, and there's no oversight from the people up here. Another judge who is unfit to sit is Esther Morgenstern. And a number of people here have been victimized appallingly by this woman. She swans into work at 11 a.m., also on her $250,000 a year salary, and she delights in trafficking children into single-parent homes, as well as ordering the rest of journalists, parents, all on baseless accusations of recording her court proceedings, whatever it is. Some of you have been assaulted by her court officers, people like Officer Cooney, Perotto. Now the CLC names her as the most toxic judge in all of New York. We believe she should be removed. How many complaints have we sent to the Tembekian and the people upstairs? Hundreds. Hundreds. Which of you have complained about Morgenstern? None of them have had any action taken. Other judges, Judith Kaplan, who receives money from wealthy attorney Ralph Felder and then rules in his favor every single time. Former chair of the commission. The whole thing is a racket. It is a racket. We have been filing complaints to the CJC about these judges for years. Tembekian has properly investigated precisely zero. The CJC has shown it does not need reform. It doesn't need the increased funding, the new $8.2 million it's about to receive. The CJC needs to be shut down. And Robert Tembekian needs to be investigated and audited. And a new oversight body, a new, truly independent oversight body needs to be established. Because these foxes cannot be allowed to run the hen house. So please do all you can to support our mission to get rid of Tembekian, to shut down the CJC, and to have real oversight over our courts.
Contact us with the complaints that you have filed. Give us copies and of the sham dismissal letters so that we can publicize the evidence of what's been going on. Because the Commission on Judicial Conduct is corrupt. Everyone there needs to be not only removed, but indicted.
The only thing that works, that gets rid of corrupt judges, is publicity. Nothing else.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
Rolling camera and 3, 2, 1.
Hi, my name is Brooke Altman. I have been in this court situation for, I guess, 13 years, and there doesn't seem to be any end in sight. My case is a landmark case, or rather a landmark debacle. And what happened was the judge created some new case law, which is biology is irrelevant. And as far as I know, science doesn't lie, people do. And what's happened since that decision, and by the way, that decision was made by a judge who created a legacy for herself on my daughter's back and mine. So here we are 13 years later. In that order, she says that my ex was the more truthful and I was the freer spirit. So I guess free spirit means it's illegal to be a free spirit now, or that's a bad thing. However, I'm a great mom, and it's a miracle that I'm standing here today to tell you this story. But I know my daughter needs me, I need me, my friends need me, my family needs me. And on your way to bigger crimes, the smaller ones don't matter, right? So my ex was indicted and convicted of 3 felonies, multiple felonies. And this was a few years after the order, right? So the more truthful had been lying, stealing millions of dollars from our escrow to, in her mind, I guess, pay people off in family court, which is intent. The DA sealed the case, so I wasn't privy to it until it was unsealed. And at that point, I had filed to change custody. And it wasn't because she was indicted or convicted. of criminal behavior, it was because she doesn't know how to love my child. And children are incredibly sensitive to energy. So if you're a parent who shows up with dark, draconian behavior, I mean, it's textbook. They're going to leave you. They're going to turn their back on you. So I'm not really quite sure why people go down this path. Again, it's textbook. It's, you basically, you're an asshole, you're gonna get treated like an asshole when they grow up, and that's just the way it is. So basically I filed in 2018. I'm just waiting for the bus. I filed in 2018 to modify custody, change custody. It's now 2023 and I'm still in court. Why? Because the papers that are filed, it's the word of the day, litigation abuse, right? So it's every paper that's filed, it's family offense petition against me. It's a contempt motion against me. It's another family offense. It's another, no evidence, no, just write whatever the hell you want in papers. And I guess there's no such thing as sanctions in family court either for something like this. So I guess, you just have to respond to this nonsense, and eventually, you really have to look at what litigation abuse really means, right? So to be financially leveled, psychologically leveled, emotionally leveled for no reason is really, I'm speechless, to be honest. It's a miracle. It really is a miracle that I'm standing here today. So I think, for the most part, this judge made a huge mistake, and honestly, I've been incredibly patient with my filing in 2018. You can't blame that on COVID. That was 2 years later. My daughter's been living with me for 3 years. 3 years, 100% of the time, and the other party has legal custody. So while this is going on and while the courts are delaying matters further, this gives my ex the room and the time to now steal, actually, let me scratch that, to abscond with my daughter's college fund, forged my name and took it off my property, so that's property theft. The list is extraordinary on what I've had to endure, and the fact that the courts are ignoring my child because she's not strapped to a fucking radiator, really? Like, that is, it's absurd. So this court has ruined, actually, my ex and the court together, co-conspiring, at this point, supporting each other's bad behavior so that no one gets caught. But when somebody's indicted, all the evidence comes forward, right? All the evidence comes forward, and then you just wait for the right moment. And I have given the court so much time to fix this problem. However, it appears, that they're just going to wait for my daughter to age out. She's 16. Age out, really? So for 2 years, I'm going to be dealing with a sociopath who's continuing to destroy and terrorize our lives, hold us hostage, using the court, really, using the court to, actually using the court as a weapon, to destroy human lives. Why? This case law, it means nothing. It says nothing. It's based on nothing. It's not even based on any facts, any evidence. And oddly enough, once my ex was indicted, all of a sudden the judge is retiring early, the law guardian wants to step down, everyone's got all these reasons why they scatter like rats. Well, I'm sorry, but someone is going to account for the damage they've done to my child's life, not to mention what they've done to my life, all because somebody can write whatever they want in papers and gaslight the hell out of the courts, and you're going to just believe them because they're not educated. They're not educated enough to deal with children. Best interest of the children is a joke. Where does best interest of the children come from? If that's the integrity, then I'm sorry, there's no integrity, there's no accountability, and how is it freaking possible that this is their mantra, their motto, best interest of the child? This has nothing to do with children. This has to do with money. And clearly, there's some backdoor dealings. I don't really even care. All I care about is my daughter's well-being. And that's the court's job too. So maybe someone needs to write that book, right? That's a textbook the courts need, which is to really understand not only the law, because the law is, you don't go changing laws because of stupid reasons. It's not even like valid reasons. The textbook it's really simple. It goes like this. It's called abuse. If you're not educated and you don't understand human nature, the good, the bad, the draconian, the sick, whatever, get a clue, folks. When you're actually filing paper after paper after paper with no evidence and then dropping your case because you couldn't get a witness, like it's insanity, right? So my experience in this family court has been like standing in the room naked and being shot at with no protection. And that's 13 years of my life, and trying to prevent my daughter from being exposed to any of it. However, they can't help themselves, the law guardians and this and that. No one's doing their job. And if the situation is that there's just not enough judges, or maybe not enough qualified judges, then figure out another reason. I mean, maybe somebody has to post a bond if they're actually really going to file something that's valid. But the bottom line is, the law is, just read the sanction law. Read sanctions law. I mean, that should give you the whole freaking rundown of what you're allowed to do and not do as an attorney, as a participant. It's absurd. So the game continues, and I hope the courts are really considering fixing this problem, because they've destroyed my child's life, her childhood, and it's my job to unravel that shit now. That's a problem. Someone needs to be accountable.
I'm rolling camera right now, so.
Okay, all right, guys, ready? Here we go.
This is a private building. This is a private building. Excuse me.
I have an appointment with Mr.
Excuse me.
Hi. So anyway, I got the shot, which is like.
Around again? Want to go around again? I'll push you around.
Oh, to get the commotion type of shot?
Yeah.
I think I got it, basically. I got him
You're
stopping
not getting
us.
the whole conversation, though.
Yeah.
I'm just going to push him around.
Here is the letter I want to deliver, okay? We, the undersigned, representing millions of New Yorkers, decry and condemn this man's 40-year-old record of fraud, waste, and abuse, and his unelected position of power at the CJC.
We have asked you to exit
We
the building.
denounce you for the
You guys
hundreds
are not
of corrupt
trespassing.
judges you have
Please
willed
exit.
and failed
We're going to call.
to
We're notifying
investigate.
911. You are trespassing right now. Please
You are
exit
housed
the building. We ask that
We
you
hold
exit
you
the building,
responsible
please.
for the deaths of numerous
So
children.
I can't, the door is blocked, so I can't leave.
I know.
Their lives would have been
Sorry.
saved if you'd
Sorry,
acted on
please.
warnings from us.
I don't, I
Make
didn't want to,
no
I didn't want to
mistake. You
aggravate
have
this
blood on your
situation.
hands.
I'm just
Blood
a
on your
guard. This is a
expensive
private
suit.
building. Please
You
step
are
outside.
complicit with this. We want to speak to
We
Mr.
appreciate it. If you have a letter, we can bring it up to them.
We want to speak to Mr. Tembection.
We can provide a letter to them if you want. You have
This
some
office is
information.
a disgrace
but
to our
please.
democracy, a gaping wound in our judiciary, and a
Sorry.
blight on our
I'm
constitution.
sorry. I feel sorry for your
We want
cause,
you, no,
but
you don't.
please.
You're complicit in
Please.
this right now.
This is a privately owned building.
We want you to resign immediately, or we will never tire in our dutiful fight to expose.
This is a private building. Please
Oh, now we
separate.
bring in the weapons.
Please.
The weapons, the guns.
Guns are coming.
We have a right democratically to fight.
Step outside. You can say you could be out front of the sidewalk.
It's
not. No.
It is.
This is a
The
private
CJC
building.
paid $8.2 million.
Not for this building.
Please.
Please.
They do. They pay the rent.
Please, this is private built property. If you have something you want me to bring up, I can bring up a letter for you, but you cannot enter the building without permission. So I'm sorry.
Completely inaccurate to say it's not paid for by the taxpayer. The rent here is paid for by the taxpayer.
Yes, but you're not there. You're in the building.
Yeah, and I want to go there. We want to go there now.
You can't. You've been asked to leave the building politely. No, not my job.
Yes, I.
Since it's my job, I know what the appointments are. I know if you have one.
Why do we not call up?
Do you have a card or we can
My name is Sebastian, I'm director of the Family Civil Litigation. The these court officers also paid for us by us, the taxpayer.
make no promises. I will relay it to the office. I don't know who the person is.
Will you give this to the Commission on Judicial Conduct?
Nobody can go out.
This is the head of the Center for Judicial
It doesn't matter.
Accountability.
You don't take any walk-ins under any circumstances.
Because they don't want accountability.
I can't answer to that. I can only tell you the building policy